The November 20th meeting of the Charlton Board of Selectmen. Would everyone please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The chair respectfully requests that all participants treat each other courteously and be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. Those in attendance are requested to turn off their cell phones or put them on vibrate so as not to disrupt the proceedings. And those wearing hats, please remove them. Tonight's agenda, we'll have the reading of the agenda, approval of the minutes of the special meeting, regular meeting, and special meeting, community relations announcements and open forum. Under appointments and resignations, an appointment, promotion to lieutenant, appointment, records access police officer, appointment, part-time interim EDC director, resignation, EDC commission. Scheduled appointments, 6:40 Ralph Harris, tree lighting, 6:45 cable ascertainment hearing, 7 p.m. tax classification hearing, 7:15 fire chief Ed Nov, open positions at the fire department, 7:30 marijuana discussion, process, 4 8 p.m. Vernon Cameron, 83 Haggerty Road, subdivision abutting his residence. Under new business, we have Pillar LLC subdivision plan application, winter washed sand bid award, open meeting law complaint. Under old business, the marijuana advisory committee. Followed by committee reports, Board of Selectmen policy review, student select person report, but I don't see our Anya here this evening. Town administrator report, other business, our next meeting announcements, and finally, we will adjourn for executive session. What are the board's wishes regarding the meeting of the special minutes on October 16th?
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain?
One abstention, motion passes. What are the board's wishes regarding the minutes of the regular meeting on October 23rd?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
move that we accept the October 23rd regular meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion passes with one abstention. The minutes of the special meeting on November 1st. What are the board's wishes?
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the November 1st, 2018 special meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Do I have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain?
Aye. Motion passes with 2 abstentions. Under community relations announcements and open forum. Announcements for the Board of Selectmen meeting. Dear Charlton Riaz Foundation Incorporated, Residential Energy Assistance for Seniors Annual Fundraiser 2019. The Charlton Riaz Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization providing qualifying seniors in the town of Charlton with energy assistance, including heating during the winter months and air conditioning and/or support with electric bills during the hot summer months. Last year, the Charles Riaz Foundation awarded 45 seniors with heating and cooling assistance totaling $17,250. The 2018-2019 heating season began on October 1st. The assistance would not be possible if it weren't for our annual fundraisers and your generous donations. The Taste of the Town event will be held on Saturday, January 26th, 2019. That's January 26, 2019. Mark your calendars. This event brings together a variety of local foods and beverages for vendors and guests to sample a tasting. Also offered are silent auction items, raffle items, and door prizes. Tickets are just $15 per person. The Riaz Foundation other annual fundraiser is a lottery calendar. These are drawn each day in the month of January. The grand prize of $500 will be drawn at our annual Taste of the Towns event. For more information, if you need assistance or know someone who does, or to obtain tickets and lottery calendars, please call 508-868-5289. Or see our 2019 fundraising flyer on the website, www.reascharlton.com. That's www.riazcharlton.org. Thank you for your support, and please know your donation can make a difference in the lives of our most vulnerable citizens. From the Police Department. First Responder No Shave November, benefiting Home Base, a Red Sox foundation, and Massachusetts General Hospital Program. In 2017, hundreds of first responders from across 62 cities and towns in Massachusetts raised more than $125 for Home Base during their No Shave November campaign. No Shave November is a month-long journey which participants forego shaving and grooming in order to evoke conversation and raise awareness of the invisible wounds that our veterans face, such as post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. The Charlton police officers participating in No Shave November have donated each at least $100 and will be growing their facial hair to help support awareness, whilst at the same time raising funds for research, education, support, and patients fighting the battle against post-traumatic stress and other invisible wounds of war experienced by our returning service members and their families. If you'd like to help support the cause, please consider joining our efforts at http://becausemassgeneral.org, Charlton PD. This will be on our website, and I'd like to commend and thank the Charlton Police Department members for taking part in this. We do appreciate it so much. The folks at UMass Memorial Children's Medical Center are looking for donations of toys for children who are coping with medical experiences. To help children deal with the anxiety magnified by illness, injury, or loss of their familiar routines of life, the Child Life program at UMass is dedicated to ease their stressful healthcare experience. During the month of November, the Charlton Police will have a donation box in their lobby for the children of UMass Medical. There will be a link on our website that will provide information on the program and the types of donations that they are seeking. And I'm sure the chief can talk to that later on this evening. Thank you again. Running for more than 2 decades, Charlton Helping Its People in Need, also known as Chip In Food Pantry, is a non-profit, multi-purpose human service organization that has been providing more than just food for local families in need. The Charlton Police Department, along with our Police Explorer Group, will be graciously accepting Legos, family games, dolls, action figures, toy trucks, bikes, sports equipment, video games, etc. for children from toddlers to teens who may not be as fortunate this holiday season. Something as simple as a toy can stir a child's imagination and bring joy to youth in need. Please give generously to make the holidays brighter for our children. New unwrapped toys can be donated and dropped off at the Charlton Police Department lobby from now until December 21st. Monetary donations will also be accepted. Checks should be made out to Chip In. Together we can help a child have a joyful holiday. Holiday pet photos, Saturday, December 9th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Cornerstone Bank, the Charlton branch at 2 Center Depot Road. Get a holiday photo of your pet with Santa. Bring in your dog, cat, parrot, or reindeer. Any donation appreciated, and all proceeds will be donated to Friends of Charlton Animal Shelter. And finally, the Town Hall will be closed on Wednesday and Thursday, November 21st and 22nd for Thanksgiving, and we wish all our town employees to have a wonderful, happy, and safe Thanksgiving holiday. Oh no, there's one more. Attention Charlton residents, the residential drop-off at the Southbridge landfill will be closing on November 24th. Beginning December 1st, the drop-off will be at 200 Leicester Street, North Oxford. They will be accepting municipal solid waste and recyclables from verified Charlton residents and all Town of Charlton employees with employee ID on Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. For more information, please contact the Town of Charlton Board of Health at 508-248-2210. Is there anyone here for open forum? Yes, ma'am. Please come. Please give your name and your address.
Good evening, Lori Degnan, 106 Osgood Road.
Thank you.
I have a citizen concern. It pertains a little bit to the solar, so if I may, Madam Chair, mention the solar committee update at this time as well.
That's fine.
It's pretty quick.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. So as you know, we've been meeting. It's a good group, made up of Dave Karen and some town officials and a couple residents. We've been following the 2014 guidelines, and those of Dudley, Oxford, and Sturbridge. We're looking into bond amounts, fencing, buffer zones.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to look at future solar developments, protecting us 10 to 20 years ahead, height restrictions, disposal changes, which could result in higher bond amounts,
Mm-hmm.
fire buffer zones, similar to Oxford. As you know, we have 25 now in or permitted, so most of these regulations will apply to the number 26 on, and if it's passed at annual town meeting. So we hope to have something ready by February, so we'll have
Wonderful.
plenty of time for hearings and resident input. So that brings me to my citizen concern. I know you guys are aware of it, but many residents aren't, and many don't believe me when I talk about it. So that's why I'm here, and hopefully Debbie will talk about it too. So working for this moratorium was not easy. I've lived here my entire life, so I had to go against several landowners I respect, many that I've known my entire life. So with the town boards, residents, they wanted the promise of the taxes with no drain on the town's services. Kurt's report provided to you listed $951,000 in revenue coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And we do need to stop relying on fossil fuel. I get it, but the money is what basically is driving solar. So when I found out about the huge loophole called Clause 45th, I was alarmed. I did my homework, I visited our assessor's office, and they too confirmed it. This is not just affecting Charlton, but it's affecting every town in Massachusetts. The MMA, the state assessors, the attorneys, they're all aware of it. So there's 3 ways for a solar field to be tax exempt. And I believe the attorneys who sat here and discussed how wonderful it is and what money we're going to get knew about it because legislation has been stuck for 3 years in Boston to close this loophole. So you can sell your solar to a nonprofit, or if you have a solar field that you own adjacent to your company or your property, you can benefit from it, of course. But this Clause 45th agreement is any Massachusetts taxpayer can purchase your solar. We have many examples. I brought paperwork too. The town of Swansea, they have a solar company selling the solar to a bank. Barry, Mass, Quabbin Solar has 3 or 4 fields there. They were denied an abatement by the town. They took it to the appellate tax board. They won. Quabbin Solar won. They said that they're selling their solar to honey farms. As we know, they're across the state. So it's really a no-brainer. If I had a solar field, I'd do the same thing. Pilot agreements, why do you need a pilot if you can be tax exempt? So the promise of getting pilots doesn't do anything. So all the attention we've been getting in the media with cannabis, liquid natural gas, to get all these tax dollars, here we already have 20 to 25 solar power plants. We already have them here. We have $951,000 that we need to go after. So I understand Deb hired an attorney to fight the appeal that they're up against, but we need to do more. I think us as a group and other towns can get together to move this legislation. It's sitting in Boston now. The governor reconvenes in January, so now's our time. I spoke to Deb. She said, yes, now's the time to move. We need to get people involved. So everyone that posts online or has snarky comments about everything lately, I think this is the chance that you can do to make yourself heard. Residents could go to to Governor Baker's website. I've already done it, and I said, look, you made us accept solar, which we get it, but we're losing potential tax dollars. Some of these properties that are in solar are Route 20 properties, so they're tying up potential income for 20 years. So if you go to that website, people at home, there's a place to put your comment and say, please move on closing this tax loophole. And it'll also address the nonprofit. They're already nonprofit. They get a lot of benefits being nonprofit, but we have a field in town that Clark University owns, There's another one coming up, Perkins School for the Blind. And then other companies that have bought. Town of Westford is also purchasing it. And you go to these solar companies' websites, and they explain it right there. I've been sending them to Deb. So I think as a board, if we could maybe do a letter, do an online petition. It's been 3 years, and
Yep.
there's 6 different revisions of these bills. And I'm not an expert, but we need to do something, because we were promised taxes, and we're not getting them, so. And then if I could, Kurt had his nice report that he did, maybe make that a working document, put it in Excel, so everyone can go to their shared document to see the status, when it's turned on. That's when Deb can start billing. Did the bond amounts come in? Did the property get sold? I notified her of a sale that could be now nonprofit. So if there's ways that we're all on the same page, this is a big industry for town, and that's a lot of money that's already here. So it's kind of the low fruit, we just need to fight for it. And then my next one, this sounds so silly. Everyone wants a supermarket. You know, we talk about the liquid natural gas, and yep, it's out of the way. But both Deb and I have gone to the Trader Joe's website and said, yes, we know of a good spot for a supermarket. It's right on their website. Could you imagine if we inundate them as a town with 14,000 emails come to Charlton? It's the only supermarket not in our area.
Ms. Dagnall, I'm with you 110%.
I
on
love that thing. So, anyway, if we could maybe get to the people to, oh, you're not.
Smile for the camera. We do have another appointment.
But wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, it absolutely would.
So, that's
And-
my 2 cents. Thank you.
Madam
Thank
Happy
you for your 2
Thanksgiving.
cents.
So,
Yes,
to
Mr. Singer?
Mrs. Dagnall's points, I know what you're talking about, and I think that your work is incredibly valuable and your time, and has not gone unnoticed. And to your point about 14,000 people, everyone here in Washington should be aware, 10,000 postcards were sent from Worcester County to Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And 10,000 postcards got a Major League Baseball team
Yes.
to move their AAA affiliate to a new
So-
city, which never happened.
So perhaps we can start our own postcard campaign and get ourselves a grocery store?
So it can
I
happen.
even said, we have Treehouse. These people are looking for
Mm-hmm.
services. So, that could be something positive for the town.
And thank you for all the information about the tax loophole. I would
Yeah.
argue that you are more of an expert
Oh,
than you think, so thank you.
yeah, and if you need any copies of this,
Absolutely.
I
we-
have,
We can,
Copeland and Page have a brief
okay.
piece too, so, and then.
We'll get
Honey
them to the
Farm.
selectmen's office and have them available for distribution?
Thank you.
Yes,
And-
thank you so much.
And one more
Yes.
point, I too want to thank Mrs. Degnan, because you've been working long and hard on this. But to your suggestion, have we done anything, or can we do something moving forward, maybe with other select boards across the state?
I would say that would be something, perhaps for your solar moratorium group to look into, creating a consortium with other towns, so that
Actually, if I
we
could,
can tighten that up.
MMA is aware.
Yes,
I
they
went
are.
to their website and they have it. They spoke about it a couple of years ago. So-
Madam
It's
Chair?
time to bring it back up, yes.
I would ask that, a lot of good discussion here, but I think it might be appropriate to have this on our next meeting
I think that's a good,
as
excellent idea.
as an agenda item.
Can we do that?
I'll give some
You
hints.
certainly can.
Okay, we're gonna put it
Get to
on
come
it.
back.
Oh,
Sorry. But we do wanna have more time for you, so let's put you on the agenda for our next meeting, okay?
all right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Okay. Anything else for open forum? Alrighty, let's move on to our appointment. Little behind schedule, but I think we can do this quick. Ms. Craver?
Yes, ma'am. Please find attached a letter from Chief Maxfield recommending the promotion of Detective Sergeant Daniel Dowd to the position of lieutenant. Chief Maxfield has a valid civil service promotional list with qualified candidates, and Detective Sergeant Dowd is at the top of the list. He has been a member of the Charlton Police Department for 21 years, and he served roles in the department, with the most recent being supervisor of the detective unit, court officer, and the lieutenant duties, and is highly qualified to fill this position. I would recommend the appointment.
Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Singer?
I would, with great honor. And it is, I think, I take great pride in what's happened in that police department with Chief Maxfield and now Detective Sergeant Dowd in making this motion to appoint him as lieutenant of the Charlton Police Department.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any additional discussion?
Comments?
Go ahead, David.
I am very proud of the work you've done for this town, and I can't think of anyone more deserving for this role than you. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's been a long time coming, and Detective Sergeant Dowd is a great person, he's a great man, he's a great police officer, he is everything that this town needs, and is the poster child for what we want for this department and this position.
Thank you very much. I don't think there's any doubt in the board's mind that you've made an excellent choice, Chief.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
Okay. I'd like to keep this moving right along. We are a bit behind schedule this evening. Chief?
Sorry.
You're not leaving yet, Chief, sorry.
Oh, okay.
The next one.
The next one, please.
Madam Chair, Chief Maxfield is requesting the board appoint Richard Mike McGrath as the Police Department's Records Access Officer. I would recommend the board make the appointment.
Do you have anything you'd like to say, Chief?
He's been doing the job for some time now, so just making it official.
Okay, very good. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir?
I move to appoint Richard Mike McGrath. He's not here, is he? No?
Yeah.
He's outside, but
As the
okay.
Police Department's Records Access Officer.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Comment?
Yes,
Just
Mr.
again to
Singer.
the chief, what you've done with this department, continue to do this department, and the selections that you're making show that you were the right choice,
thank you,
again and again.
thank you.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All set, ma'am?
You are all set for
Thank you.
now. Next on the agenda, we have an appointment for a part-time interim Economic Development Committee Director. Ms. Craver?
Yes, ma'am. After the special meeting, I was approached by Dick Vaughn stating his interest in serving as part-time interim EDC director for the town. He felt very strongly that we needed a salesperson to promote the town and those are his strengths. He later followed up with an email which I sent to the board and to the EDC. The EDC met on November 7th and discussed Mr. Vaughn's letter of interest and recommended the Board of Selectmen appoint him to the position as an interim EDC part-time director. The EDC agreed the town would benefit from having Mr. Vaughn, a present employee, as the interim until the Board of Selectmen and EDC review further what steps to take next. The planning board stated that the new town planner would need to focus on planning department issues because of the workload. I believe your board, the EDC, planning, and FinCom agreed to revisit the issue 6 months after the new planner was hired. As you know, there is no budget for this position, as the funding went to the town planner line item at town meeting to ensure we would have adequate funding for that position. I would recommend appointing Mr. Vaughn as the interim EDC director based on an annual stipend of $6,500 to be paid monthly from the contract obligations. What is the board's wishes?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Singer?
I would move to appoint Mr. Vaughn as the interim EDC director at a stipend of $6,500 to be paid out monthly.
Second.
Mr. Vaughn?
Discussion?
We will. We have a motion and a second. I'd like to invite Mr. Dick Vaughn up here and open this for discussion.
Do you want to have him say why he was interested?
Well,
Can you introduce yourself and speak?
my name is Dick Vaughn.
Yes.
It's real simple. We have three things in Charlton. We have location, we have land, and we have low taxes. And it's absolutely imperative that we grow. We have a lot of things going for us, and it just takes somebody to go out and knock on doors. Because when you ask somebody to do something, there's only two things they can say to you. They can say yes or no. And I look at it this way, that means you've got a 50% chance of getting a yes. And in talking to the people from the ECD board, they talk about someone mentioned the supermarket tonight. There's restaurants, they're in the area. And we have a great opportunity to bring people into this community and fill those needs. And it just gotta go out and knock on doors and invite people to come. And I think it's doable, and I think it just needs to be worked at.
Sorry. You've met with the EDC?
Yes.
How many hours approximately do you think you'll be able to commit to this? Because you do have a very busy schedule. I know you do.
Well, you know what I learned a long time ago? The busier you are, the more things you can do. And I look at it this way, that I can be able to come in here Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays and spend time here. But the real time is out on the road. Anybody here is not gonna open a supermarket. So I can spend all day in the town hall, and that's not gonna really be the answer. The answer is to get a list, and I wanna meet with the ECD in their December meeting, and I ask them to make a wish list of what they think they want in this town. And once we get that wish list, you start at number one and you go get them. And you just keep knocking on doors. It's that simple.
First, I would like to thank you for coming forward, and I appreciate everything you do for the town. And I have some comments to make, and I don't want you to take this personally. One of the concerns that I have is all that you do for this town. When I was on the Government Study Committee and we went around and talked to people and actually produced our white paper, one of the things we identified was too many people were wearing too many hats, and we were trying to take the hats off of people, not put more on them. So this, I believe, would be job number 3 for you, correct, for the town?
Yeah.
All right, so, because you're but I don't remember your exact titles, you're an assessor?
I'm on the Board of Assessors.
Yep.
Right. And then I do TV Charlton.
Yep.
And by the way, I think TV Charlton and the ECD can go hand in hand, because I'm inviting people constantly to come on and do a program. And it's amazing how you meet these different people, and there's opportunities to get them to come into Charlton.
I would agree. It could dovetail nicely.
Yeah, it fits perfectly.
But my concern would be if you had checked with ethics on it because of the 3.
Yes, I spoke with them, and I spoke to an attorney, and she said, well, I don't have an answer, but she says, since I don't have an answer, and I'll get back to you, and if I don't get back to you, don't worry. So that was her answer.
Okay, well, I don't know that I'm comfortable with that, but moving on. The other concern I have is at town meeting, this action would actually go against what we voted at town meeting because we didn't have funding in that line item. I think it was $1. And I was under the impression that we were going to kind of double down and work on getting our town planner and then collaboratively decide how we're going to move forward with that. And just so you know, I did, because I was doing my homework, I did call a couple of the EDC members to find out what had happened and what their wishes were, and if I recommended not to appoint Mr. Vaughn for the reasons I just stated, if they would understand. And actually I was the chair, and he was okay with that. Now, I know we cannot talk for the whole committee. The other concern I have is, quite honestly, the process. If we were to move forward with this, and I'm recommending against it, and again, it's nothing personal, I would say we would and should post the position for a number of reasons.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think everything in Ms. BWAC is brought up is valid concerns. I'd like to address a couple of them.
I'll ask Mr. Vaughn, do you feel comfortable and do you have enough time to adequately fulfill your duties of this position?
Sure.
I trust people to, people who are excited and interested in doing these things for the town to put the maximum effort needed into something. And one of the issues with the Economic Development Commission, it's been one of my goals for years now on the board, is to stimulate economic development. And what we need in that position is someone. We need someone who is going to be a cheerleader for the town and someone who is excited to go out and bring development to Charlton. Concerning the point about the budgeting, I agree that long-term, I think we should come to an agreement. Right now, we don't have a planner, or at least a permanent planner, and with the amount of work backed up right now, the planning board has said that there's not enough bandwidth to focus on the economic development. And it's something that we have seen, there's people talking about solar farms, people talking about supermarkets, and going forward, this is a interim part-time position. And having someone who's so ingrained in the community, so excited about the position, would really help us develop the goals and the mission of both our board and the Economic Development Commission. And I would ask that we would meet with the Economic Development Commission to talk about those goals and workshop those goals. So that's why I'm in favor of this, and I think for a long-term position and a division of duties, I would say that yes, we do need to sit down and work on it.
And through the Madam Vice Chair, I guess I'm asking also, first, I'm very uncomfortable that we don't have a decisive answer from ethics. And just with that alone, I don't see how we can move forward.
I mean, ethics, she didn't say no.
But I'd like to see something in writing to be more formal. And the other thing is, again, when you wear three hats, anyone wearing three hats, if something happens to a person, we now have 3 vacancies. And the final thing is, I really want to stress, we don't know if there's someone, again, with all due respect to Mr. Vaughn, more qualified. And I would say, for a number of reasons, we should post. I guess I'm asking you, why wouldn't we post to see if we went forward? Yeah.
Hold
Sure.
that thought, because that's a very interesting thought. And we do have an HR person here, and I hate to put her on the spot, but Jessica, can I ask you a question? Do you mind? Okay. We did not,
Can I interrupt for just a moment?
Yes.
We have a scheduled
We do.
classification hearing for 7. Can we hold this discussion for a moment, do the classification hearing, and come back? We also have a
I know
cable
we're-
ascertainment hearing
Mhm.
for 6:45,
Yes, we
which
are
we have
getting-
someone waiting for.
Would you mind?
And I think this is an important conversation. I'm
Okay.
just wondering if we could move it to the beginning, just get through the actual posted hearings.
All right. Does anyone have an objection to that? Do you mind if we table this for a moment?
No problem for me.
Okay,
All right.
we're gonna table this
We're gonna,
and move forward with the hearings.
so if the selectmen can go to the classification hearing on page 82. 82.
Ms. Craver?
You're scheduled to hold the tax classification hearing tonight at 7 PM. The Board of Assessors have provided you with information to help you in making a decision on whether to establish different tax rates or to continue to tax all classes of property at the same rate by adopting a factor of 1. There are 4 items you will be asked to act on in order to set the tax rate. 1 is the tax rate, 2 is the small commercial exemption, 3 is the residential exemption, 4 is the open space discount. The Board of Assessors will present to review the materials, are here to review the materials and answer any questions that you may have. The chairman should open the hearing by reading the notice and the public hearing as placed in the paper on November 8th. The town's website, the town's cable channel, and the town hall bulletin board.
The Charlton Board of Selectmen will hold a tax classification public hearing in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 37 Main Street, Charlton, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, November 20th, 2018, at 7 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to determine whether different or uniform rates of taxation will be applied to the various classifications of real property. The Board of Assessors will be available at the hearing to answer any questions that you may have. Input from the taxpayers will also be welcome at such hearing. And the hearing is now open at 7:08.
Okay. Hi,
Hi,
Deborah
Deb.
Ciccarini. You all have your packets. It's always a ton of information, so how would you like me to proceed? Do you want me to go through just quickly what was in the packet?
Yes, ma'am.
If there's any questions, we can take them. So I just thought I'd put the graph on the front page because that really explains the whole packet. Why would we shift the burden onto a particular class of property when we're still trying to invite and attract commercial industrial growth? Obviously, we're still at 85, almost 86% residential. So as Robin said, the purpose of tonight is also to make that vote on whether or not we want to shift the rate, but also there are some other votes that you have to take tonight, and that would be the residential exemption, which, you know, historically, there's 14 communities that have this, and there's summer places, Nantucket, the Cape, Boston, Cambridge, places that have a lot of second homes, which we don't fall into that category. Historically, the assessors would recommend that you don't accept or vote for the residential exemption. The small business exemption is another vote tonight, and that would be to give up a discount of commercial properties that are valued less than $1 million, who employ no more than 10 people during a calendar year. This you would adopt if you did decide to shift the burden onto the commercial properties and had a split rate. It would give the small businesses a break for them at the higher rate. And there's 10 communities in the state now that have that. Assessors historically would not recommend at this time the small business exemption. And then the open space discount, which there's one community in the Commonwealth that allows this. It gives a maximum allowable discount to vacant land, which we do immensely. We discount a lot of land here under chapter, special use, unbuildable or not potential building lots. I detailed for you some terminology on the next page regarding our tax levy limit, where we are, what the increase was under Prop 2.5. Our new growth revenue for this year was $485,359 in new tax dollars. Of course, we had the override, which was hitting the tax rate this year. So it brings our new average single family to about $281. Average tax bill now for fiscal 19 will be about $4,162. Average increase of $392, and the bulk of that was due for the override, which we prepared the taxpayers for. So I also thought I would include, that's what you get for $280,000 in Charlton, about 1,800 square feet. And again, some classification considerations. These are questions just to think about before you make your vote tonight. And I broke down for commercial, industrial, and personal properties how many properties we actually have that are over $1 million, under $1 million, just to give you an idea. Of course, the solar, you know, is pushing that figure higher, but it's all relative in the percentage pie chart that I provided. So on this what-if scenario, it just gives you an idea of, you know, currently for fiscal 19 going forward, the rate is going to be roughly $14.77. If we were to shift that, even 10%, it just gives you an idea of what happens. We can only shift up to 50% above onto the commercial. But if we were to shift as high as we could, the commercial rate would be $22.16, the residential would be $13.37. So, you know, incrementally, it increases the commercial, lowers your residential, but as I said before, I think you agree as well as the assessors that we're still trying to attract commercial industrial growth, so at this time, it's not a big burden. You know, the percentage that they occupy in town is not a great burden on us, for us to increase the taxes for them. And then I included the assessor's recommendation, some historical graphs, historical tax rates, and surrounding communities. And just to take a quick note, Charlton is still highest taxable value here, out of the whole, you know, the surrounding towns. So we're at 1.15 billion in taxable value, which is even higher than Sturbridge with all of their commercial growth, retail space, and whatever. So, you know, your investments are safe in Charlton, should I say? But if you have any questions, I guess we'll take it at this time.
I do have a question. Under small commercial exemption.
Yep.
Says the Board of Assessors does not recommend adopting a small commercial exemption. But we do want to attract business, small business, large business. We wanted to attract some business to Charlton. So what's your thought process about not having the small commercial exemption?
I believe because it's currently a joint rate,
Is it,
and if we shifted the burden to a higher commercial rate versus residential, then two would kick in. Right now, there's nothing to exempt from.
right, thank you.
Kind of goes hand in hand with
Okay.
that, yeah.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Does the board have any questions?
So now you would have to take the appropriate votes and motions.
Ms. Craver, have we received anything in writing from residents about this?
Oh, ma'am.
Does anyone here have anything they'd like to say at the public hearing? Yes, Mr. Borowski? Yes, please, come up.
No, I can leave, it's fine.
Okay, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Bill Borowski, 69 Haggerty Road. No, I'm low maintenance. One question, more a philosophical one. I'm not asking for the board for an answer tonight, but I think in combination of the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Assessors, as well as the EDC, is what is our town's definition of economic development? And I'm very serious when I say that. Is it taxable growth regardless of type? Is it taxable growth plus employment? Or is it just employment? Because many of us who've been in office have always talked around economic development. But it's kind of a nebulous term. And I think as we think about our master plan and on a go forward and potentially around rezoning, that we honestly all have an honest conversation around what do we really mean by economic development, because that may influence our overall tax policy. Because right now, all of us say we want more business in here. What if it increases a tremendous amount of traffic and therefore increases municipal services and X, Y, or Z? Is it a net profit? Is it a net revenue? So not for a conversation for tonight, because personally I'm 100% in favor of a single tax rate at almost all times. I think you'll see most of other communities, Auburn, Worcester, et cetera, are gravitating towards a single tax rate for a very good reason, because quite honestly, they can't compete with us. But that being said, I think we as a community have to have an honest conversation around what we mean around economic development and how that will impact the overall character of where we choose to live residentially. So thank you for the time, I appreciate it, and sorry I didn't get to leave you.
No, that's great.
Appreciate your comments very much, and perhaps in the next part of the conversation about the Economic Development Director, we can think about all that. Thank you. Are there any additional comments? Okay. Ms. Craver, what would be the next board's actions?
So on page 91, you have their recommendations, so you'll need to take some votes.
Do we need to close the hearing first? I move that we close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The hearing is closed. Thank you. At 7:17 PM.
So under the tax rate, you'll see the Board of Assessors, as in the past, recommends that the town continue to use a single tax rate and not shift the tax burden to the commercial and industrial class.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair? I move
Yes.
that we do not adopt the small commercial exemption.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I move that we do not exempt, make the residential exemption.
Second.
Adopt the residential exemption.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Farwitz?
I move that we do not adopt the open space discount.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to ask you to do one more before you go back to that,
Okay?
which would be on page 28,
Okay,
which is your cable hearing.
Okay.
Each board member has to
Ralph
sign.
Harris.
He's not here, I can just read that. That's not one. I just want to make sure we get the
Do we need to call that
ones that are
person?
timed. So,
Okay,
Are we, okay, I'm just, Madam Chair,
you need to sign that?
yep. All right, just get
after
another
your
page.
announcement, I'll make it.
Hold on, please. Okay. Next item on the agenda, we are a little behind, is the cable ascertainment hearing.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I need to recuse myself.
I understand.
Okay.
Hi, this is Melinda.
Hi there, it's Robin Craver. We're about to begin the hearing for the cable. Are you ready?
Okay, great.
Okay, so, Madam Chair?
Yes.
The town's contract with Charter Communications will expire on June 28th. As a part of the renewal process, we must hold a cable ascertainment hearing, which we have scheduled for 6:45. And we are running a bit late, which it is 7:20, and I appreciate people's patience. The purpose of the hearing is to review the performance of the current cable television operator, Charter, during its current license term, and to hear testimony on future cable-related needs and interests of the community, Charlton community. The notice of hearing was placed in the Southbridge Evening News on October 25th and November 1st, and the town's website, cable access channel, and the town hall bulletin board. The office has not received any notices from residents regarding the hearing, although I take that back. When that was written, I did receive an email today, but I will hold that until you open the hearing. We hired Bill August from Epstein and August LLP to assist the cable committee and the board with the process. He is here with us tonight. Also attached is information we received regarding the FCC released a notice of proposed rulemaking to allow cable-related in-kind contributions other than paid capital costs and build-out requirements to be treated as franchise fees, subject to and counted toward the Cable Act's 5% franchise fee cap, and the committee can explain that further. A letter from Attorney August providing a copy of a draft letter for the board opposing charter petition for rate deregulation. Should the board wish to send, you could direct that to me to do so on your behalf. And comments from Attorney General responding to the petition for determination of effective competition filed by Charter Communications Incorporated. And a Massachusetts Department of Telecommunications and Cable opposition to Charter Communications Incorporated petition for special relief. The chairman should open the hearing by reading the notice as placed in the paper and the opening statement for the public hearing. And, yes, go ahead.
The Board of Selectmen, as statutory issuing authority for the town of Charlton, will conduct a public ascertainment hearing on Tuesday, November 20th at 6:45 p.m. in the Selectmen's Meeting Room at the Charlton Town Hall, 37 Main Street, Charlton, Massachusetts. The purpose of the hearing will be to review performance of the current cable television operator, Charter during its current license term and to hear testimony on future cable-related needs and interests of the Charlton community as part of the town's charter cable license renewal process. Interested parties are encouraged to attend and offer testimony on any cable-related matters. Any applications and reports to be considered at the hearing are available for public inspection at the Charlton Town Hall during regular business hours and for reproduction at a reasonable fee. For more information on the public hearing, please call the Town Administrator's Office at 508-248-2206. And the public hearing is now open at 7:23 p.m.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Craven.
we have on the telephone a representative from Charter who is listening in on our ascertainment hearing. This is Melinda Kinney. She is the Regional Senior Director for Government Affairs from Portland, Maine. I believe because of some of the road conditions, it was difficult for her to actually make it, so we're glad she can join us on the call.
Okay.
And then you have something else.
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Deborah Noble, Vice Chair of the Board of Selectmen. This is a public hearing conducted by the Selectmen on the town's charter cable franchise renewal needs as part of the town's cable television license renewal proceedings. This hearing follows the town's giving newspaper notice of the hearing in the Southbridge Evening News in 2 successive weeks in advance of this hearing, copies which are entered into the hearing record. Before commencing the hearing, I note that the members of the Cable Advisory Committee, some of whom are here tonight, include Eric Borgeson, Chairman of the Cable Committee, and committee members Bill Fontaine, Ron Wilmot, and Carl Ekman, and the town is very grateful to the Cable Advisory Committee for its continued hard work assisting the town to identify town needs in the renewal process. Likewise, the town's Cable Counsel for Renewal, Bill August Esquire, is here with us this evening. Charter's cable television license and renewal expires in June of 2019. Federal law requires the town to engage in a license renewal proceedings, including the holdings of this public hearing, to ascertain the town's cable-related needs. Ultimately, these proceedings will result in either a renewal of Charter's license or a denial of such renewal. Under federal and state law, the decision as to whether to renew or deny Charter's license resides in the franchising authority, which is the Board of Selectmen. The Cable Committee has been delegated with the task of gathering information and providing advisory recommendations for the Board of Selectmen, including identifying the needs of our community for studio for public, governmental, and educational access, and local programming, which are much appreciated by the Board of Selectmen and are very important to the town. All final licensing decisions must be made by the Select Board, acting as the licensed franchising authority pursuant to Massachusetts cable licensing law. At this hearing, we will receive comments and testimony, if any, from the general public and interested persons concerning what cable-related needs and interests are important to the public. In addition, the public may comment on how well Charter has performed under its existing license. Any public comments and testimony will supplement the ascertainment records developed by the town. Members of the Cable Committee may also have questions or comments. We ask that you keep your comments brief, to the point, and conclude them at no longer than 5 minutes. If Charter has a representative in attendance, we welcome Charter to this hearing, and Charter will have an opportunity to introduce itself and discuss its cable operations in Charlton, including past performance, particularly any important aspects of the proposed license renewal. Any questions should be directed through me as the chairperson, and I will rule whether they are in order. Before testifying, please state your name and address. Should you wish to supplement your oral testimony and to provide any written comments on matters of concerns or comments concerning the renewal process, you can forward them to the Cable Committee, care of Town Hall, and until further notice, we will keep the record of this hearing open to receive such comments. We also note for the record, the process of ascertainment community cable needs and interests will remain open until further notice. So welcome to this public hearing to further ascertain and address the important subject of cable-related needs and interests to the town of Charlton. This hearing is part of an ongoing public process, and we invite public participation.
Would you like to start with the committee?
Great, I can provide a shorter statement. I've been crossing things
Thank
off
you.
as the night's been going on.
It's quite lengthy.
I appreciate the time. My name is Eric Borgeson, 18 Larned Hill Road. I've been the chair of the committee for 15 years, been in town for 22, so I'm fairly new in town. The committee would like to start by thanking Charter, as long as Melinda can hear me, for the assistance, expressing our gratitude for the assistance in keeping our system running, supporting us when we need help with the broadcast insertion points, and, continuing funding and technical assistance. Our committee is made up of representatives from public safety, an ex-Charter employee, a retired teacher, all with technical backgrounds. We have set forth a number of goals back when we did this 5 years and then 10 years ago, with a number of goals. Many of them was exceeded pretty substantially, and some we still have work to do. These goals include more original content, more complete coverage of public meetings, and more offerings for the public schools in Charlton. We have produced thousands of hours of original content, including hundreds of episodes of Politics as Usual, Conversations with Dick Vaughn. In those, we get about 2 to 3 new episodes a week that are viewed on the Charlton cable channels. We've built a studio in the Arts Center. We've improved the recording capabilities in this room, the sound, the lighting, the video cameras, and have the ability to broadcast live from most locations in town with a fiber distribution network that we built about 10 years ago. That fiber distribution network bypasses a lot of the antiquated Charter equipment and the iNet system. So it's a pretty big feather in our cap that all of our buildings are connected with fiber for the distribution of video that we're able to broadcast from any building. I just want to touch base on a neat hidden benefit that may not be appreciated to years to come. We save and store all original content. This is for recording purposes, but it's also for the future generations. You can kind of think of us as a time capsule for the town. Imagine being able to look at an event or a school event that happened in this room when this was a school. I think it's pretty neat. I think the history buffs in 20, 30 years of Charlton are going to find those archives and see a lot of the things that we were doing in town. We, unfortunately, now face a pretty critical time in our development. The challenges we face are really based around old and aging equipment. The capacity of our current team has really hit its limits. The success, I think, that we're most proud of is that growth and the demand for our services. Our town is growing. We're seeing more involvement in government, more participation in meetings. I like to think of it that the town officials are becoming so popular that we're running into capacity issues when we have these meetings. Just recently at a town meeting, we were filled in the middle school, and we had to go to an auxiliary room. And that was wrought with technical issues. We all know Drew in the background had to run up a couple of times to reset things, and those are the things we're trying to address. We weren't able to deliver it in the auxiliary room, and we weren't able to deliver it to a lot of folks at home, and that's what we're facing now. Our head end in our equipment is 10 years old, and it's really a bunch of computers, and I'm sure you can appreciate a 10-year-old computer is pretty much end of life, and that's what we're dealing with. Some of our goals we have yet to meet as well. We'd like to get involved more in recording sporting events, school events, and we'd like to get a remote studio for the outdoor recording of all these types of things. To meet these demands and continue growth, we will be developing a budget over the next few years. It includes replacement of the head-end broadcaster, mobile equipment that will ensure the stability for remote broadcasts at the schools and the library and the other places that we meet in town. Better coverage for additional meeting rooms in this building, including things like the senior center and the Board of Health room and other places where the public meet. We'd like to be able to provide those meetings to the public in a free, transparent way, which is extremely important as time has gone on. And one of my favorite that is in the budget now is a drone, which I think would be great if we could fly it over Old Home Day or different events that the town does. The budget that we're going to assemble is also going to include some additional man-hours to help with post-production distribution of the original content. Any other items that come up tonight will also be included in that. And that's my statement. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Would you like to see if Charter would like to say anything?
Melinda? Hello?
Yep. Hi.
Hi, did you want to, did you have any comments, Melinda?
I didn't have anything prepared. I was just more kind of sitting in just to listen and get kind of a feel and understanding for, kind of what the needs and interests of the community or of the town are. So I didn't necessarily prepare any written remarks for tonight.
That's fine. We
But I was, happy to respond and maybe follow up when, if there's certain things that come up.
Okay, we wanted to give you an opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, and I appreciate the flexibility of the roads. It's still snowing here in Maine, so it's been all day, so I appreciate that.
Well, you can keep that up in Maine, thank you.
Yeah, I know, right? I'd take it for rain any day, because I've already shoveled twice, so
Oh,
thanks.
no. And that's why we need cable TV.
Well put.
We did receive a letter, Ms. Craver, you said?
We did. If you'd like me, I can read it into the record. Good morning, Robin. I was looking up information on our new drop-off site in North Oxford and noticed the posting of the hearing concerning Charter, our cable television provider, and wondered if our town had ever approached Verizon to inquire about having Fios brought into town. One drawing factor for us when looking to purchase a home was actually Fios. We had Fios in Grafton, Millbury, and even South Plymouth, which provided us and other customers with better television packages, higher speed internet than Charter, and of course, similar telephone service for a significantly lesser monthly cost. We were paying $89 for a triple play package, which included television, internet, and phone service in both Grafton and Millbury, had much faster internet speeds, and had a much better selection of television channels with their lowest level triple play option. We are paying Charter Spectrum $120 a month and getting inferior services. Like natural gas, I believe that bringing Fios into Charlton would be a big drawing card for our town, making it more desirable to businesses and new residents alike. Fios would not only give Charlton residents and businesses another internet option, it would also provide us with a better option. And that's the only written comment that I got.
Okay. Do we have any additional comments, concerns, questions from the audience? Okay. From the board? Okay.
I would like to,
Yes,
I
you
may.
may. Go ahead.
I would like to thank the chairman, Eric, for his words. I think he was very eloquent about how much Charter and the cable service means to us here in Charlton. It allows us to reach out to our residents. It allows us to be able to be transparent. It allows, especially when we had the overflow, we need to upgrade that material. We've had many conversations in the cable committee about how to move forward with upgrading our infrastructure, our equipment, and we are planning on asking for that assistance in this new contract that we'll negotiate. I can't say enough how critical these services are to the town.
And Madam Chair, I would
Yes.
like to add that just with what, the budget that we're fortunate to have, just the committee and the employees who do stretch that budget so far, it's commendable. It really, it's over the past 5 years, it's amazing to see the explosion of content that TV Charlton has been creating, and it's something that needs a little more help, needs a little more modern equipment, and really helps modernize the town and connects people.
Well, when I think about modernizing cable in town, it brings me back to our discussions about IT and how we need to upgrade, because when we have better equipment, when we upgrade, better technology, then we have the opportunity to have the residents far more engaged in what's going on. And that's what we want, is we want that engagement, we want that participation. We don't want there to be glitches where we see postings on social media, I tried to watch such and such town meeting and there was nothing there. Because our equipment needs to be upgraded, and we do know this, and I appreciate your words tonight. We do agree with you wholeheartedly.
It's nice when things do break, because you know how many people are watching. I think that's the only advantage. It's
very true.
wow, I was at the town meeting and my phone was blowing up. I'm like, we have this many viewers. I was pretty excited but nervous at the same time. So
Well,
it's-
you do. You have a lot of people who can't get out for whatever reason, whether they have small children at home whether they're ill, whether they, you know, they don't want to have to sit in an overflow room, but they do want to see what's going on and be engaged.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we keep that pathway open and we facilitate that engagement. And obviously, cable TV is an important part of folks' lives. Yes, Mr. Borowski?
Sorry, just a very quick question. Bill Borowski, Mr. Fung. Bill Borowski, 69 Haggerty Road.
Yes.
This is through you, Madam Chair, to the board, and by the way, I commend all of you for the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Truly. To the representative from Charter, if she has a Charter-specific position on the recent FCC recommendation that for all intents and purposes would gut local access programming, and if, in fact, the contract goes forward and the FCC does, in fact, rule on the amendments, how that would impact our local access. Sorry, thank you.
Can you answer? Can you provide an answer, or would you rather have those remarks in writing?
Yeah, I mean, I can give a preliminary and then I can follow up with writing, in writing, but I think, you know, initially,
Can
a
everybody
couple
hear?
things. I think the FCC's rule, it's not significantly, I mean, what they're doing is not anything, I guess, in layman's terms, like, it's not anything new. I mean, these, as I understand it, that these provisions have been in place all along, but they're taking another look at in how cable operators, you know, deem like value from, you know, certain provisions that are provided under the PEG landscape. So I think we're kind of waiting to see how that whole process plays out. I will tell you, I don't have, and I can follow back up, but there hasn't been any discussions on, you know, what the implications of that will be, if any. So I think it's, you know, we're still kind of submitting comments to the FCC and kind of going through the process at this point. But I can follow up with a more formal, I guess, I will follow up with a more formal position on that. I really don't have one in hand at this juncture.
Okay.
We're just sort of watching the process roll. But again, so, yeah.
If it's not too much trouble, could you put together some comments and send them to the town administrator? And we could have
Yeah,
those
if
available?
Yep, I'll find out where those are kind of in process and certainly follow up with you guys on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Could we hear a bit from our attorney regarding the rulemaking and the deregulation issues in the petition for special relief?
Can you introduce yourself, sir? Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah,
so we know?
I'm Bill August from the law firm of Epstein and August LLP. With respect to the FCC rulemaking on the franchise fee, municipal officials are concerned. The rulemaking is pending, so there are some open questions. The FCC has invited comments on counting access channel capacity as an in-kind benefit that is countable as franchise fee. So that is new. It would be new if implemented by if adopted and then implemented by the companies. There are industry comments filed in the rulemaking requesting that the FCC make it prohibit companies from voluntarily waiving their right to count in-kind benefits toward the franchise fee. In fact, some of the leading comments ask the FCC to make it mandatory to count in-kind benefits toward the franchise fee. So right now, the franchise fee in most communities is a percentage of gross revenues or a fixed dollar amount. And under the FCC proposal, certain non-monetary benefits, such as the value of PEG access channel capacity, could be counted towards that monetary franchise fee, which you otherwise will be receiving. Now, it's not clear what the bottom line impact will be, because the devil will be in the details. How will the access channel capacity be valued. If it's just the incremental cost of providing the access channels, there are estimates that the incremental cost of access channel capacity is small, because the cable company is providing hundreds of channels, and the access channel is just one of hundreds, and we haven't seen any quantification of what that would be. The most dangerous part of the FCC proposal is the FCC proposal to, it asks for comments on whether to value the in-kind benefits, such as access channel capacity, iNet channel capacity, which is upstream return capability, at cost or at market value. If those in-kind benefits are valued at market value, perhaps we don't know what the market value of an access channel is, and who determines that? It would be the cable operator. So there are a lot of unknowns. I think there are some big risk factors there. But Melinda is correct about some of it is not new, because there was some prior language from the FCC recognizing there may be a valid basis for counting certain in-kind benefits towards franchise fee, and that has been done in the past with respect to some companies have offset against franchise fee the value of mandatory free expanded service to schools. But that's the only example I know of where it's being done currently. I would just ask Melinda if she is aware of it being done by charter, where they're offsetting in-kind benefits against franchise fee right now. Hi, Melinda.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
It's good to hear from you. Is
Yeah, you
Charter
too.
or Time Warner?
Not necessarily, not that I'm aware of on services to schools and libraries and municipal buildings. I know that there have been a couple cases or situations nationally where operating costs were deducted from franchise fees, which I don't necessarily know if that was part of this particular 621 order. I think that was that. I think that has always been the case. So I guess in large part, I would say no, that the company hasn't necessarily been offsetting. But my purview is really has only been in the New England areas, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts primarily. So I can't really speak for what's been done kind of for the other states.
Right.
So
Well, there are a lot of moving parts here.
Generally, no.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any additional comments?
I do not have any at this time.
Any additional comments?
I would just urge Melinda to bring back that what I'm hearing from municipal officials is that for decades we haven't counted those things as franchise fees. So if it's so there's been sort of settled expectations and an understanding, and to the extent you can, this may be beyond your job description, it's definitely beyond mine, but to the extent we can get that into the pipeline to just continue the past practices. They've worked well. They've been mutually beneficial licenses for both the industries and the municipalities, and to the extent we can maintain the status quo and not upend the whole system of franchise fees. Just speaking personally, conveying what I've heard from other municipal officials, that's basically the sentiment that we're hearing.
Thank you, Attorney August. We did have one comment, Mr. Coronas.
Yes.
Can you come up and introduce yourself, please?
Yes, Steve Corona, 17 Old Worcester Road.
Yes.
And, there are a lot of towns around here that have choices in cable, and I'm just curious as to why Charlton doesn't have the opportunity for BIOS
Can I
or
make a brief
other
comment?
choices on that.
Can you answer
Right.
them?
Well, you do-
Briefly?
Sorry, Bill August?
Yes, no, I'm saying, can we do this briefly? We still have-
Very briefly.
Thank you.
The
Thanks for
the
your question.
Charlton license is non-exclusive. A lot of people don't realize that. They assume when there's only one cable company, the town must have had some exclusivity. No, we have non-exclusive licenses here. So the reason, it has nothing to do with the town. It's just the Verizon and other companies, their business model has been they pick certain types of territories and markets that they want to go into, and they haven't come here. You could beg Verizon to come here in response to that email. Chances are they would say no, which is what, because they froze their expansion in wireline cable franchising.
I do want to comment too, we have attempted to reach out in the past and have really fallen on deaf ears, both Comcast, Time Warner, you know, at the time they were separate, and Fios, and, you know, I invite you to, if you want to pitch in and make some phone calls, come on along, but, you know, it's population density, we're spread out, yeah.
Enterprise type of guy, I think Congress is
Right,
for everybody.
right.
It's
They're gonna go to,
And for the email Robin read,
yeah.
I think a lot of us in this room will probably pay more than $120.
You're right, yeah, and they want to go to
And I don't even have.
Cambridges and places like that first, yeah,
No,
unfortunate, yeah.
it's true. A lot of
Yeah.
people are frustrated by the lack of choice.
It's the biggest question we get, and, you know, unfortunately, your options are, you know, satellites and things like that, but you won't get the great Charlton channels, 191 and 192,
true.
to leave it as a
Very
plug.
true. We want our local channel.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Millen, did you hear that? I hope.
So, I think we'll close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
At 8.
No, at 7:49. I have a motion and a second. Do I have a vote? Do I have a discussion on the motion to close the public hearing? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Public hearing is closed at 7:49.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for your patience and your information.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Okay, you want to go get Karen? Fire chief,
Here, let me do that real quick.
let's do that quick.
So,
I do apologize, we are running behind.
Lots to talk about.
I don't think we should schedule things the way we did. Michael here.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I received a notice from Ralph Harris Jr.,
Yes,
fondly known as Bud, that he's been advised by the retired police chief, James Purvier, that he will not be continuing the organization of the Christmas caroling tree lighting for the town of Charlton.
yes.
Mr. Harris has assisted him for many years and will be taking over this self-generated event. I invited him here tonight, but he was unable to attend, but he did call and left the office with a schedule of events as follows. Sunday, December 2nd, at 5 p.m., caroling on the Common. 6 p.m. Festival of Lights Parade, starts at CVS, ends at the Town Common. Santa Claus will be here, arrives at the end of the parade and does the tree lighting. So it's been an excellent community event,
Yes.
and we hope everyone can join them.
Madam Chair?
And thank you to Bud for picking that up.
Absolutely, Mr. Sparwitz?
I would like to send a letter of thanks to Mr. Purvier for all his years of service, and I actually would like to know how many years he actually put this on for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
95 now?
95,
95.
Yes.
I'm going the
So
wrong
you're
way.
going back to your,
we're going to
Um,
the fire chief. We are on our 7:15 appointment. We are running behind schedule due to such wonderful town comments tonight. Fire Chief Ed Nov, open positions at the fire department.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the rest of the board. Just in the spirit of engagement that we've been discussing tonight, I just wanted to give you a quick update as to where the fire department stands with some open positions that we have. As many of you know, we are dealing with a IOD situation with our fire prevention officer
Yep.
position. That's been going on since September of 2017. We have, I would say, struggled, and but we have maintained our fire prevention and inspectional services to the best of our capabilities within myself as the deputy chief, and now with the deputy chief, Jason Cantara, taking on that role primarily. So with 4 major projects going on in town at once now, we all know about the marijuanas industry situation, the LNG plant. We have a new treehouse expansion that's getting ready to take place. And we also have a diesel and propane storage facility ramping up and getting ready to go online. So the need is obvious for a fire prevention officer. What I am looking at doing within my department is interviewing internal candidates to see if we have any viable candidates within house. We did have a first round of interviews. I was pleasantly surprised and pleased that we had 2 members express an interest. Again, first round of interviews today. Further discussions and interviews early next week. And what I'd like to do is, if one of those candidates rises, we would like to put that individual in that position to take on these 4 projects and everything else that's going on. With that, obviously, they're going to come off the floor, and we're going to be shorthanded on the floor as far as firefighter EMTs. With that, I've also received a letter of resignation from one of our firefighters who's chosen to take a job in another town. So that would leave 2 open positions as currently situated. What I would like to do going forward is start the process of, obviously, once the IOD situation has resolved itself, to move forward and begin the process of filling those two positions. We all know that the grant, the SAFER grant, is expiring in January. We have had it fully funded through the end of the year. But still, I think the need is there, the dollar amounts are there, the revenue is there, that we can begin this process sooner rather than later of looking to fill those 2 positions. So that's the update I wanted to provide you with. And what I'm looking for is, I would hope that I would have your support in following through on that.
Public safety is paramount, sir. Absolutely. Yes.
So just a quick question for the chief.
Sure.
So we have one person who's leaving to go somewhere else.
Correct.
Why would we have to, or do we have to wait until the IOD situation resolves itself for the other position to act on this one? Can they do those separately?
Yes, we can. We can begin that process as well. The thought process is I'd rather look for 2 than one, and then 1 again.
Okay, so then I guess the follow-up then is, do we know or have an anticipated time frame on the IOD process?
We were hoping to hear something this week. I can give you an update if that's feasible. I was contacted by the Worcester County Retirement Board. What they called it a remand of the case. And basically what I was told was that the lawyers for the Worcester County Retirement Board were just looking for some clarification and more information, which I then provided to them with a document, and we were supposed to hear within a week or so. Have not heard anything yet, but we are looking to follow up on that.
So then I guess a procedural question. Is there an action that we can take this evening on behalf of the chief in advance of his getting this answer, or do we have to wait for him to get these answers before we can act as a board?
Can we add a caveat to a motion that says pending resolution of the IOD issue?
Can I bring up another subject
Okay.
to consider? And I've had this discussion with the chief, so feel like I need to at least put it on the table so that
Okay.
eyes wide open. The chief has mentioned that he did not get the grant. There has been conversation, we went to town meeting about trying to get town meeting to agree to automatically fund the additional 5 firefighters. As you know, town meeting funded 4. Then after that town meeting, we received a grant for 9. We did not receive the grant again. We went to the last town meeting to try to do 2 things, actually. One was to fund it until the end of the year, and the other was to have town meeting agree to keep all 5 of those firefighters.
Yes.
So that did not happen, so that portion was pulled. So my understanding from the board was that you wanted to defer the conversation on the 5 firefighters for the budget process coming up this year. If that's true, the question would be, and again, I've talked to the chief already about this, the question would be, would you fill those positions now, or would you leave them vacant, so that if you just chose not to hire those 5, would you, rather than hiring people and then letting them go, would you wait and see if you could scale it down by attrition? So that's the only additional consideration. By the statute, the chief is a strong chief. He can point people into positions. What he needs to come to you for is in hiring and replacing. So you have your finger on the pulse of how many actual firefighters we have at the time. So you can move forward on his request. I just want to make sure your eyes are open that in the budget process, you're going to start talking about whether or not to keep the 5.
So, thank you, Ms. Craver. So that being said, to Mr. Safarovich's point, and I guess my earlier question, just for procedural knowledge, can we act tonight with that caveat based upon the findings? Or are we forced to hold any action, whether we took it or not, until he hears?
If you have a concern about adding the 2 firefighters, I would suggest that you have that conversation. If you want to act on the fire prevention officer, if the chief is willing to appoint someone to that position without the backfilling or the promise of backfilling the other 2 positions, he could do that on his own.
Okay, so, no, my question is not about the need. I believe the need's there. My question is simply, do we have to wait, or can we take action tonight?
The choices that you have for action tonight, which the chief is asking you to consider doing, is approving him to, and correct me if I'm wrong, approving him to backfill 2 positions,
Right,
to
so-
hire 2 positions.
Right,
And
but
you
would it
can-
have to be motion to include contingent upon?
Results of the IOD?
Exactly.
I don't think so. I don't think that that's gonna factor in at this
So-
point. I think he was just letting you know why he has the position open, but I don't think we need to have that as a factor.
Okay,
So
can
I would-
may I ask a question?
Sure.
Thank you. So, obviously, you have two open positions now, and we're looking at losing 5 firefighters in January. This is what we're.
No,
No?
and they're funded.
You can have the conversation.
I understand this. So, the grant runs out in January,
That's correct.
But we have
And-
funding until the end of the fiscal
and we
year.
have the funding until the end
It's
of the
funded
fiscal.
until June 30th.
Until June, okay.
So the town will have to decide if you'd have an
I know.
additional 260,000.
I know. So, my question is, the 5 that are earmarked, if you will, that we might lose in June, could we put them into these positions? Or do you want to seek outside? I'm kind of confused.
Those five positions are funded until.
Until June.
June.
Right,
As it stands now, we
Yeah.
have 20 full-time firefighters,
okay.
plus
That's what I
the
need to
fire
know.
inspector.
Okay,
Right now, I have technically 17 because I have another one that's out injured,
okay,
and then I will have these 2 open positions.
okay,
With that, we have seen, and to clarify, at the meeting, the last town meeting, the vote didn't fail. The vote was unanimous to fully fund them moving forward till June 30th.
yes,
The language was changed prior to that meeting,
okay,
because we had included moving forward, because we believe, and I believe, that the revenue stream that's been upgraded with these additional positions has been verified.
okay,
Over the last 3 years, we've produced well over $1 million in ambulance receipts.
Okay.
So to me, they're paying for themselves,
Okay.
essentially.
Madam Chair.
all right, thank you. Yes,
Just for clarification, so we're not talking about moving people around because it doesn't solve the problem. Moving them from here, if you're short 2 and you move some from here to fill those 2, now you're just short 2 over here.
right,
It's a question of we're shorthanded. doesn't matter where we put them.
Yes.
We move them, we're still short. And so the conversations I've had with the chief, and it's really apparent to me that we need to fill these roles, and I would move to fill both of these positions.
Second.
Discussion?
I would agree that I think the need is there, it's obvious. I want to thank you, Chief, for providing the information, both at town meeting and for this meeting tonight. It's a very good case that we would most likely keep these officers. I think it should still be part of the budgeting cycle for FY 2020 and part of that town meeting. But I think a lot of evidence points towards, the strong case for bringing those firefighters back.
And I would wholeheartedly agree with you. And the flip side of that is if we do reduce, there are ramifications on the other end of that, such that overtime becomes a man-for-man situation, whereas now, with minimum manning, we can drop one person and not have to fill overtime, so there's a savings there.
Right.
And you've been provided with worksheets
Yes.
that have provided those overtime savings over last year, and this year so far, as of last pay cycle, it was almost $95,000 in savings in overtime.
And
Thank you.
I think that will provide a lot of good data for discussions come early next year. But I think it's good to start thinking about that now,
So-
once we get state funding and other resources, information, trickling in from the state.
Mr. Singer, you made a motion. Could you please clarify what that full motion is, please?
To authorize the chief to fill the open fire inspector position as well as the firefighter position for the employee who's leaving for another town.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, I think the chief's looking for permission to fulfill the 2 firefighter positions, because he
Correct.
plans on.
My motion is whether he wants to bring in a inspector from outside and 1 firefighter, or move internal and fill 2 firefighters. It's however he wants to move his pieces around to achieve the goal of running his department and filling those 2 slots.
Okay.
Right.
I just wanted to get that clarification on paper. Okay? We have a motion and a second. Is there additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Thank you for your
As a
patience.
quick side note,
Yes.
Santa will be traveling around town
Yes.
Sunday, December 2nd, scheduled to begin at 12 o'clock. The route is up on Facebook, so come on out and say hi to Santa on his way by.
It is on my calendar, have no doubt.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for doing it. Okay, and thank everybody for their patience again tonight.
Do you want to go back to the appointment, since that was actually first, and then go back?
Pardon me, Dick?
You want to do that now, you can move it later, we'll come back some other time. You get a long night.
Yes, sir, we do. Where did David go?
Mr. Vaughn, would you mind taking the other 2 items and then coming back to you?
Or we could table it until the next meeting.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, it's up to you.
I think, in light of questions raised and concerns that it might be, if you don't mind, appropriate, Ms. Craver, if we put this on again on our next agenda?
No problem for me.
No problem? I appreciate it so much. So we will schedule things better at our next meeting.
Super.
And we'll get some clarification on these questions, and perhaps you will have heard from the Ethics Board by then.
I'll call them back. I called them twice, and they don't seem to think there's a problem, but I'll call them back and say,
We will also follow up with them,
what's
right?
the status?
No, actually, ethics is for the person.
Okay,
It's not for us to monitor. We don't get involved in anyone else's ethics.
okay.
I would
I
like
trust
to.
you to do that.
We also, their communications to an individual is
Mhm.
confidential.
Yes. I think I will follow up with our personnel director then. So we'll have more clarification at the next meeting. And I thank you for your patience.
Yeah, and while I appreciate you looking into that, and I know you can't share with us, but do note the date and time you speak with ethics, please? When you call ethics, so we can check it? There's gotta be a way,
There's n-
right?
They will
No.
not give
No.
information when
No.
someone calls. It's up to them on what they're going to do. They won't give information on, you can't call and get information
No,
on
not to get
someone else.
information, just to verify a call was made. It's, again, it's,
No.
it's
They
for
won't
any,
do that.
anyone,
No.
they won't do
They
that
won't do
either.
that.
So it just,
and it
Word.
really behooves him as well, because he can get into a lot of trouble, and I trust Mr. Vaughn. I think he's a very upstanding citizen.
this isn't, as I said, this isn't anything personal, it's, you know.
Okay.
Take a minute.
Well, I did really want to table this, Mr. Vaughn.
Give me 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds, you got it.
They've been talking about this for 2 years.
Yes, sir.
I came forward and said, look, I'm willing to do something to begin this process. All right? That's all it is.
I know.
I'm not,
Right.
and the last thing I want to do is end up in jail. So, right now in my life, I'm having a great time, all right? Let's table it. I'll get the information from ethics, pin them down and get an answer instead of them waffling.
Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and just, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
just one point, one thing, going forward, I think a good compromise to some of the issues brought up is that we would make the appointment until the end of the fiscal year, and then revisit it come then, so we can actually get started and ball rolling. So that would be one of my recommendations.
what?
That's an excellent
That we would put a
recommendation.
sunset date on this, and
Yep.
we can come back to it.
Okay.
So
So,
you would
We'll see
consider
you
the
2 weeks.
appointment and then have it sunset June 30th?
Yes,
Is that
and
what you're
then-
saying?
Yeah, but we'll
Okay.
do everything in 2 weeks.
Just, and one,
All right.
just last request I have,
Yes,
I would like to see some kind of resume, qualifications, job description, I mean, we
I'm
appoint
sure
people
his
without.
resume would fill volumes.
Well, again, it's.
Yes,
It's just,
no problem.
best practice.
Mr. Vaughn, we'll see your resume too.
What?
Resume? Okay, can we do the resignation real quick, Ms. Carter? Page 23, we'll
Thank
just
you.
get that out of the way.
Not sure why my computer is not.
Economic Development Commission resignation.
Yeah, we're just gonna do that real quick and get that out of the way. I know we're jumping around
This is
tonight.
Mr. Liley's,
Mr. Lally resignation.
I move that we accept his resignation.
I'll read, I have it here.
Okay.
Here, do you wanna read it? Read off mine.
Not sure why this is not.
Go ahead.
Attached, please find a resignation from Mike Lally from the Economic Development Commission. Mr. Lally has been a great asset to the commission, and I would like to thank him for his time and commitment that he has given to the town. The board should accept his resignation. A letter thanking him for his time is in the sign folder, and we have posted the opening on cable and the town's website.
Thank you. What are the board's wishes?
I move that we accept Mr. Liley's resignation.
Second,
Motion and a second, any discussion?
just publicly to thank him, he's done a lot for this town, and we really
Absolutely.
appreciate his efforts, so I'm glad we're sending him a letter.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes with regrets. Okay. Moving on to page back up to 108, which Ms. Craven cannot get to. She's gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. Fourscore LLC. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience this evening. We're not sure how much we have for discussion tonight, but I'm sure you're gonna enlighten us.
Yes, good evening.
Good
Do
evening.
you want me to read the memo?
Yes, would you please?
Yep.
Just-
At the board's August 14th meeting, we authorized to negotiate a draft host agreement and land development agreement with Fourscore Incorporated. Fourscore is seeking to locate a marijuana cultivation facility at 144 Worcester Road. Previously, they requested a retail component, but the zoning bylaw limits retail sales to 2 stores, and those 2 have been taken. They held their community meeting on July 16th and have been before you several times to provide updates. Also, as you know, the October 15th special town meeting approved the following Article 13, Citizens Petition Article, General Bylaw, to see if the town will vote to amend the town's general bylaw by adding a new chapter and section that would provide as follows, and to further, to amend the table of contents and add said chapters and sections. Chapter 157 Marijuana, Section 157-4, Host Agreement. Selectmen shall comply with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 94G, and obtain town meeting approval of the terms of any host agreements pursuant to General Law, Chapter 94G prior to signing. Any General Law, Chapter 94G host agreements previously signed by the Board of Selectmen which do not comply with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 94G, subsection 3D is declared null and void. The language of this article has been sent to the Attorney General's office for review. Legal counsel advises the town meeting voters that the article has legal flaws, and to date, we have not heard a decision on its legality. Ms. Craver is recommending that we review the draft in executive session if the chairman declares an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body. Once you're satisfied, you would bring it to an open session for a full discussion and public comment. Changes could be additionally incorporated based on the public's input. Fourscore has requested to be scheduled for the selectmen's meetings on October 23rd, but due to not having a full board, has been rescheduled to tonight's meeting to discuss the host agreement, development agreement, and the implications of Article 13. We have them scheduled for 7:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good
Want to
evening.
introduce yourselves really quick? Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Daniel Glissman, attorney with Prince LaBelle. I'm also joined this evening by Mike Curtis, principal of Fourscore. Thank you very, very much for having us this evening and taking the time. The principal reason for us coming before the board this evening was to get some guidance and clarity on the process that the board is interested in for this group. And if deemed appropriate, we would respectfully request that the board act on the host community agreement. As the board is well aware, we've been working on this project since March, and we've done what we think is our best efforts to position this project for success. We have brought together a fantastic team. We've attended numerous town meetings. We held a community outreach meeting where we garnered support from a number of the community, including some of the most ardent opposition we believe in town. We've also filed an application with the planning board that was subsequently reviewed by the town engineer, and we've prepared responses to the minimal comments prepared or made by the town engineer. We've negotiated in good faith a host community agreement with the town administrator and town council. We've put money into escrow for both the review of the peer review of the planning board application, as well as the negotiation and review of the host community agreement. And we've also, began to the best of our ability the state application process. So we are very much ready and able to move forward on this process pending a decision by this board on a host community agreement. We certainly fully respect and understand the board's position given the outcome of the most recent town meeting. However, we believe it's important to note that the Massachusetts law is very clear that general bylaws, unlike zoning bylaws, are not effective until deemed approved by the Attorney General's office. So we certainly believe that it's within the authority of this board to act on our host community agreement should they deem appropriate. And just to add to all of this, I think it may help the board if I shed a little light on the state licensing process. So the next step for this group would be to obviously continue along the planning board path, but also file concurrently a state licensing application. And this is a lengthy application process where we would make application 6 to 8 weeks later, likely hear back from the state regulating body, the Cannabis Control Commission, for any additional information they might seek. We would then respond to that and wait for hopefully an approval that our application is deemed complete, that they've stated we've submitted all the requisite information. At that point, the state would then send a letter to the town asking if our company is in good standing with the zoning and general bylaws of the town. So we certainly believe that 8 to 10 week period of initial vetting by the state would be plenty of time for the Attorney General's office to render a decision on the general bylaw that was passed at the last town meeting. So again, with that information, we wanted to come before the board for some guidance as to what they'd like to see next, and if possible, certainly an action on the host community agreement. So thank you very much. Mike, would you like to add anything?
You nailed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that explanation. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I appreciate you, being patient as we get through several other items on our agenda. But for me personally, before I take any action, I need to see the results from the Attorney General's office regarding our last town meeting. There's some significant legislation passed, and we need to make sure we understand fully the outcome of that.
I would have to concur. In good faith, I would not feel comfortable entering into a community host agreement until I get a decision rendered on that particular bylaw that was passed. I hate to put you off like this. I understand that you have a business to run and you've done everything according to the letter of the law. I mean, that's all we want to follow as well. So the AG's office has had these papers for what, approximately 6 weeks? So they have 90 days to get back to us, so we're halfway through that period. Yes.
Madam Chair, I just want to echo the comments made. I agree with the comments made by my peers. And I also want to point out, unfortunately, first, again, thank you for your patience. You really have done everything. You dotted your i's, you crossed your t's. But being the situation that we're in, it wouldn't be wise to move forward. But a couple of other points, on the agenda list, I believe just discussion tonight, that we weren't voting on anything anyway. The other thing, unfortunately, because the majority of the board voted to postpone putting a ballot question on about marijuana that was brought forth by the citizens until May, I don't think we can do anything until we know what happens in May.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Singer?
throw my comments out there. So, yes, I do agree with my fellow selectmen. Certainly, there may be various opinions of what we can or can't do, but I also live by a rule that sometimes just because you can doesn't mean you should. I do believe that the town meeting, which is our legislative body, took an action. I think that we're bound by that until we hear differently from the AG that is not a valid decision or vote or illegal. I will point out, however, and I think Karen or someone else may have pointed this out as well, you have done everything right. You guys have played by the rules. In fact, you're probably, I would say, if I used the term earlier, the poster child for who we would want to partner with in this. And I think it's unfortunate that we're in this holding pattern, because we would have, I think, rather have dealt with gentlemen like yourselves who came in and dotted the i's, crossed the t's, and did it right. So that being said, I think, I'd have to agree at the moment until we hear from the AG. I would have to wait.
Through the chair, I would
Yes.
say, would we not have to wait until the results of the May?
I think that we're gonna go through this in stages. And the first step, the first hurdle to get past is getting that decision from the AG in approximately 6 weeks or less. I appreciate your patience, and I would encourage you to continue being patient with us if you don't mind terribly. You're a good business. We appreciate you coming to Charlton very much and your interest in the town. But we're only here for discussion tonight. We could not possibly, I really don't think in good faith we could move forward with a community host agreement. Mr. Safarowitz?
I would also say, just in addition to the vote, we also have the land court issue going through as well, which would help inform going forward.
I know
Yes,
through
go
the
ahead.
chair, I know through the evening of the town meeting vote, I had suggested that you write to the AG and let her know that speed would be helpful to you, so that this board would know where it stands. Did you send a letter to them?
We haven't yet.
That you were in a holding
Not as
pattern
at this
until
point.
that decision came?
That's right. No, we haven't yet. And primarily, I've been quite busy working on a number of other projects, including the group that just opened today. So it's certainly, we obviously would encourage the Attorney General to act as quickly as possible, and we certainly intend to do so. And we would love to see that action move quicker.
If,
Sometimes she will move things forward if she knows that there's a business that's waiting
So
for
you-
the information.
You were involved with Cultivate?
That's right.
It's okay.
So that was the reason several of my employees were late, because they couldn't battle the traffic.
Okay, Mr.
It was
Singh.
quite a line. It was an interesting,
Congratulations on your grand opening success today, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you were to send, a letter to the AG asking for an expedited, to encourage the AG's office to render a decision, you could send us a copy of that letter for our records?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, sir, you can come up. You
My
have
name
to
is Roger Cloutier. Sorry.
come up, please.
My name is Roger Cloutier, 17 Coburn Road.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've been attending all the meetings, VGG isn't gonna put a retail outlet in.
This
West
isn't,
Nipmuc.
this isn't about Valley Green Grow tonight, sir?
I know, but my question was, never mind that, I guess. My question was gonna be, if that license became available, would these folks be applying for that?
I don't know that we could discuss it
Yeah.
because of open meeting laws. It's not on the agenda. I'm really sorry.
No, no problem at all.
Okay, thank you for your
I
question,
was just curious
participation.
if they were gonna actually go through with the retail or not.
I understand your question. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
No?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your patience.
Okay. Ms. Craver?
Yes.
Next on the agenda, Vernon Cameron, 83 Haggerty Road, subdivision abutting his residence, stormwater runoff, proximity to driveway grade.
Yes, Mr. Haggerty had asked for time on the board's agenda to discuss the subdivision that abuts his property, specifically the stormwater runoff and driveway that runs the length of his southeast side property line. He feels the driveway is a safety hazard and needs to be addressed. We have notified the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Zoning, Highway Department, and Building Commissioner of tonight's meeting. And I believe he's in the back?
Mr. Haggerty, are you here?
No, he's,
No?
okay.
Is he in the hallway perhaps? Can we take a look?
Gene, have you seen it? Mr. Haggerty?
Is that his address, or is that his address? He lives down by me.
Yeah, you haven't seen him? Okay.
No, it's okay.
I believe he did not come then.
Okay.
Maybe you can invite him to a future meeting.
I will check with him.
Will you check his code, see if he can come to the next meeting? All right, moving on to new business, I believe. Pillar LLC, definitive subdivision plan application, Carpenter Hill Road.
Yes, ma'am. The planning board has provided you with an application and plan submitted to them by Burton Engineering on behalf of the applicant TJA Solar Incorporated, 150 John Vestier Boulevard in New Bedford, Massachusetts, requesting approval of a definitive subdivision plan at Carpenter Hill Road. The proposed subdivision consists of 2 lots and a roadway with a cul-de-sac approximately 450 feet in length. The applicant has requested several waivers of the board's regulations. The property is owned by Pillar LLC, 150 John Valente Boulevard in New Bedford, and is zoned agricultural. You are asked to review and provide any comments to the planning board no later than Tuesday, December 4th. The planning board has scheduled a public hearing on their application on December 5th.
No action needs to be taken by the board.
Are there any comments?
Okay, seeing none, hearing none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to winter washed sand bid, the award.
Okay. On October 2nd at 2 p.m., sealed bids for winter washed sand were opened and read. One bid was received from Hilka Construction Incorporated. Highway Superintendent Foskett has reviewed the bid and would recommend the board award the bid to Hilka Construction in the amount of $17.95 per ton delivered. Last year's bid was awarded to Hilka Construction in the amount of $17.30 per ton delivered. I would recommend the board award the bid as requested.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Sparwitz?
I move that we award the bid for the winter wash sand to Hilka Construction for the amount of $17.30 per ton delivered.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir?
Ms. Craver, is Mr. Foskett not able to come tonight?
No, he was not.
Do you know how many bids we received?
One.
One. Can't hear you. One bid was received.
I had asked if the superintendent could be here tonight, and then I had asked how many bids we had received, and they said we only received this one.
I think your motion, did your motion say
1730.
1795, I believe. Last year was 1730.
I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong one.
Okay.
65 cents per ton more.
Yeah,
Yes, 1795 per ton. Thank you.
No, second.
okay. Any additional discussion?
No, sir.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, open meeting law complaint.
Madam Chair, Jerry Russell filed an open meeting law complaint on November 2nd, naming the Board of Selectmen as the public body in violation and Chairman McGrath and Selectman Noble as the specific persons to commit the violation. He claims that the Selectmen wrongfully entered into executive session on November 1st, 2018 as follows. The Board of Selectmen agenda for November 1st, 2018 lists a scheduled executive session and cites exemption number 3 for the rationale for the session. In the narrative that follows on the agenda, the entity cited that for the session is Valley Green Grove. This citizen was in attendance and requested some clarity on the matter of litigation with Valley Green Grove. The only litigation the town of Charlton has with Valley Green Grove is pending Massachusetts land court case in which the town has agreed to VGG's motion for declaratory judgment and not to contest the lawsuit, agreed to not challenge. VGG agreed to no discovery, no oral arguments, nor written briefs submitted by town council. When questioned whether the litigation was threatened, pending, imminent, or actual litigation with VGG, Mr. McGrath said the matter involved minutes of an executive session executive session and did not involve litigation with VGG. This citizen asked for a docket number for the litigation at issue, and neither selectman nor the town administrator provided a docket number for any litigation. It is the opinion of this citizen that this controversial matter of Valley Green Grove's proposed 1.2 million square foot facility and the resulting discord in the town matters such that this may not involve actual litigation deserve the light of day. As you know, when Mr. Russell asked about the executive session, it was explained to him that the board had a request for public records that included executive session minutes, and the board planned to only act on approving minutes, which it did. The open meeting law requires upon a request for executive session minutes, it shall review those minutes and release the non-exempt minutes or any portion thereof not later than the body's next meeting or 30 days, whichever occurs first. And that's Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 22F. The law requires a two-stage review of executive session minutes. Both stages occur within 30 days of the request. Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 22F, and G2. First, the public body must determine whether the executive session purpose continues to warrant confidentiality. And second, if the purpose no longer warrants confidentiality, then the public body must determine whether the attorney-client privilege or one or more of the exemptions under the Public Records Law apply to withhold the minutes or a portion thereof from disclosure. At the conclusion of this review, the public body must respond to the requester and either make the minutes available or provide an explanation of what is being withheld and why. Further, if the board is to enter into executive session, it shall use the reason for entering into the executive session in the first place. One of the reasons to enter into the executive sessions to be reviewed included VGG. Thus, it was appropriate to use to review minutes. Under the frequently asked questions of the Open Meeting Law's webpage, it states, a public body may convene an executive session under the original purpose for the executive session when asked what process must public bodies follow for reviewing executive session minutes for approval. Instructions for a public body that receives a complaint are as follows. The chair must disseminate the complaint to the members of the public body. The complaint was received and forwarded to the Board of Selectmen on November 5th. The public body must meet to review the complaint within 14 days. We have scheduled a review by your board for tonight, November 20th. After review, but within 14 business days, the public body must respond to the complaint in writing and must send the complainant a response and a description of any action the public body has taken to address it. At the same time, the body must send the Attorney General a copy of the response. The public body may delegate this responsibility to its council or staff member, but only after it has met to review the complaint. A response must be made by November 28th. If a public body requires more time to review the complaint and respond, it may request an extension of time for good cause by contacting the Division of Open Government, and I do not expect the need for any extension. Mr. Russell is requesting, and I quote, "The board reveal specifically what the reason was for the executive session, what is the litigation, who are the parties to the litigation, or is the litigation not litigation, but only a fear of litigation by third parties, and the minutes to the November 1st executive session." At this time, I have included the released minutes from the two executive sessions, June 26th and July 17th. You reviewed on your November 1st, 2018 executive session. We are recommending you approve and release the November 1st regular and executive session minutes. This should satisfy Mr. Russell's request. Of course, if any member of the board thinks it needs to discuss in executive session the minutes, you can hold action until after the regular meeting and we enter into executive session to discuss. I do not believe that is necessary, given the only action you took was to approve minutes. If you so choose and approve the minutes, I will forward them to Mr. Russell and the Public Records Division. I will also let him know the litigation was Robert Lemansky versus NEMG, T&G Incorporated and others, civil action number 1785CV01779, as the public records request for Mr. Lemansky's attorney was Barry Bacharach.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. So, we did approve the minutes of the special meeting already for November 1st.
Correct, you just need to release this.
So, we would simply need a motion to release those minutes. Do I have a motion from the board?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we release the minutes of November 1st, 2018 executive session.
Do I have a second?
Can I do it if I wasn't there? I'll second.
I have a question on that.
We have a motion to,
For have we already approved the November 1st executive session meeting minutes?
You did not, so I'm asking you, because
Okay.
it was only approving the minutes,
Mhm.
that you do that now, because I don't think there's
Okay.
any conversation that would be warrant doing it in executive. Generally,
Okay.
you approve them in executive session because it was just approving minutes. I
Yeah.
don't think you need to.
okay, so what we approved earlier was just the minutes of the special meeting. We did not approve the minutes of the executive session meeting.
Correct.
Okay. So,
But we're releasing the executive session meeting minutes. That have
I am
minutes.
recommending that you
Approve and release.
approve and
Approve and
release
release.
November 1st.
Okay, the motion, I think, was just,
I'll
Yes,
amend
can
the
you-
motion so it reads
sorry.
approve and release.
That
Okay.
was
Approve
confusing.
and release.
And I'll
Okay.
amend my second to same.
okay. I have a motion and a second to approve and release the executive session minutes
November 1st.
of November 1st. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
abstain?
Abstained. Motion passes with an abstention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, under old business, the Marijuana Advisory Committee.
Yes, the board has asked that we review the duties and parameters of the Marijuana Advisory Committee and expand as needed, and to include Valley Green Grow and Fourscore LLC. The Marijuana Advisory Committee has also asked that we include the attached letter from the AG Attorney General regarding 2 open meeting law complaints filed against the Marijuana Advisory Committee by Jerry Russell. They note that Mr. Russell has withdrawn his complaints. Also, the Marijuana Advisory Committee was informed that the police chief can no longer be on the committee, and you are asked to appoint Danny Dowd, now Lieutenant Daniel
Yes.
Dowd, as the police department representative to the committee.
I would like to have just a brief discussion and give everyone an update before we move forward with anything, in lieu of a committee update. So, what are the, yes, and attached, of course, I've included the minutes of our last Marijuana Advisory Committee meeting, which are available to the public. So, when the MAC was formed, as we call ourselves, the Marijuana Advisory Committee, it was formed as part of the host agreement with HealthWise, now known as Green Gold Group. And the way the makeup of the committee read was this: HealthWise and town shall form an advisory task force consisting of HealthWise officers, officials from the town, including the health director, town administrator, chief of police, the fire chief, the board of selectmen, and an appointed citizen representative. This advisory task force shall convene as necessary in order to provide ongoing consultation and advice to HealthWise. That is no longer as encompassing as it should be, in our opinion, in the advisory committee's opinion. So right now, myself and James McMahon are going to be drafting language to send to the town administrator to amend the host agreement to be more accurately representative and inclusive of who we actually are. So instead of having chief of police, we would make it a representative of the Charlton Police Department. Instead of having the fire chief, it would be a representative from the fire department. And instead of HealthWise, we would like to have a representative from a local marijuana business. These are just some of the changes that we're fleshing out. Because we realize that as the advisory task force is defined, it's no longer appropriate, because it's changed. And this board has discussed those changes and why we needed to amend it. So within the next, I would say within the next 2 weeks, we expect to have language drafted and sent to the town administrator, which will be brought to the next Board of Selectmen meeting for everyone to review and give feedback and possibly approve or not. And yes, Chief Maxfield did have to resign from the MAP, and we understand that his time is precious, and he has very little of it for all of his duties, so we are extraordinarily grateful that Lieutenant Dowd will become an active member of the committee. In addition, since I'm giving an update on the MAC, we are going to be having a site visit at the grow facility in North Brookfield, I believe it's North Brookfield, next week on the 28th. We want to go and actually see what a grow facility is like, what it functions like, how it works in the community, so we can get some eyes on it. So, that's my update. I think the last thing is we're going to be creating our own mission statement.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
do we need to accept the chief's resignation and appoint Lieutenant Dowd?
we absolutely do.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing, oh, yes, Mr. Cronus.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious for.
Do you want to come up to the mic?
Oh, yeah, Steve.
That way we
Coronas.
can hear you.
Yeah.
Everybody can hear you.
Yeah, Steve Corona, 17 Old Worcester Road.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've heard a little bit about this marijuana advisory committee, and I'm wondering why. I understand why the chief of police and the fire chief and some other people are, but I wonder why there aren't more citizens involved on that, or it hasn't been opened up to more citizens' input. It sounds to me, quite honestly, it sounds like a marijuana propaganda committee rather than a marijuana advisory committee. And if you're one-sided on something, if you have people who are trying to open facilities in town as majority of those on the board,
I would welcome you to come to any of our meetings. They are posted. well in advance, and we would welcome citizen input and presence. Rarely do we have anyone else there except for the six of us, though Jean Vincent from the planning board did come to a meeting. It was nice to have her there, but we would absolutely welcome your input and presence there. And if you believe that we should have more citizen input and another member, please put that in writing and send it, and absolutely send it to the committee.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I know that we already have one citizen representative with Jamie
Yes, we
Leahy,
do.
but I'd like to see at least one more position as well added.
Okay. So I will.
I think it should be at least balanced, rather than just the people that want to come in and.
Right, I mean, there's only one person from a marijuana facility, the rest are town representatives and town officers.
And can I say something about the purpose of this committee?
It's an advisory committee.
It's an advisory committee to the Board of
Mhm.
Selectmen, and it's weighted with department heads because they are the ones that would be advising the board on Board of Health issues, police and fire issues. That is why those people are on that committee. So, and the citizen seat, when the Board of Selectmen had talked about it, the citizen seat was to, again, when it was formed, it was just for health-wise. It was a concerned citizen that wanted to have an opportunity to talk about the facade and make sure it was appropriate for the neighborhood, so they had that voice there too.
In addition, our citizen representative also works in the healthcare industry, so it was very important to her. One of the reasons we want to expand it is actually to get more people involved, and we will be reaching out to other boards to, because we would like members of other boards to be on this committee as well. We absolutely want more involvement.
Oh, very good.
And more communication and more transparency.
Yep.
So thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
comments,
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank
So,
Mr. Singer?
yeah, I'm not gonna discuss BGG, but I have a question. If apparently a member of BGG is on the committee, so.
No, he is not on the committee.
It says members present, Doug Schaefer, Valley Green Grow.
That is an error, and thank you for pointing that out. He was there as a guest, he is not a member.
Okay, that's why I'm clarification, because I would have immediately had to question the wisdom of having someone
No.
who's involved in litigation on that committee.
No, you are absolutely correct. He was there as a guest to provide update and information. He is not a member of the committee. The members of the committee are, just to clarify right now, Jim Philbrook, Chairman and Health Director, Attorney James McMahon, Green Gold Group, Jason Kantara, Deputy Fire Chief, Deborah Noble, Selectwoman, Jamie Leahy, Citizen Representative, and now Lieutenant, or soon-to-be, Lieutenant Dowd.
Madam
So-
Chair, just to clarify for the fire department, on a packet it says Chief Knopf, and you mentioned someone else from the fire department?
Yes, Jason Kantara, the Deputy Fire Chief, has been routinely attending the meetings. And again, this is why the MAC has decided that we really need to change the language and have it be more accurate, more reflective of the people who are attending and participating.
Okay, it just appears on our website
Yeah.
as Chief Knopf as our representative.
Absolutely, that's why we need to change this.
When you expand it, you could have the chiefs or the designee, and that way they would get to
And that-
assign someone.
That will be in the language that we submit to the board.
One other question, so if one desired outcome was to expand the committee to add a few more residents, would that be a decision of the committee or a decision of the Board of Selectmen?
The board.
It would be a decision of the Board of Selectmen because we formed the committee.
This is that ad hoc committee, I believe?
I believe so, yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, I would move to open it up to 2 additional citizen representatives, so we'd have 3 on the committee.
We can add that to the language and have it ready for the next Board of Selectmen meeting.
Can we do that? And then I think we'd have we can at least get a cross-reference of committee members. We have 3 people.
Okay.
maybe from the committee.
So are you suggesting
Well-
that she take that back to the committee and recommend that the Board of Selectmen
Please.
is interested in
Absolutely.
expanding it too?
Please.
Okay. And as I said, we will have that language finalized and ready for our next meeting, well in advance, so everybody can take a look at it and give additional input.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Madam Chair, do you want us to vote on that?
Not tonight.
Okay.
No
And
action
just-
needed tonight.
And to clarify, please, so we're expanding, are we still, will that group still be kind of umbrellaed by, I can never remember health-wise.
Green Gold Group.
Right. Well, are we
No.
we're totally severing and creating like a Charlton, like you had discussed before?
Yes.
Charlton
Yep.
marijuana group, okay. Okay,
absolutely.
all right.
Which is why we want to take out the language that says a representative from Healthwise and change it to a representative from the marijuana business community. That's one of the, that's part of the language we're gonna be proposing.
And
And they have
then-
to agree to it too, I'm sorry, John. Let's talk about that.
Well,
Believe- don't they?
let's
Because-
think about that, because if
Excuse me.
you've got 2 or 3 different entities here, having one seat of only
Again-
one being a member and then 2 not being a member,
But
that
we-
might be interesting.
We don't want, we want balance. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for balance, we're looking for guidance, we're looking to change the language. That's why, we discussed this at our last meeting, we discussed the goals and objectives. So I wanted to bring it forward tonight, share the minutes with you, and let you know that this is what was gonna be happening. At our next board meeting, we will be bringing language forward.
And I do appreciate that. I do recall from the host agreement with Valley, wrong company.
Green Gold Group,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
That they had to agree to any changes. So I'm wondering if we have to dissolve the group altogether? If you read through
Uh-huh.
the agreement we have with them, any changes, any alterations made, we have to be made in writing, and
Mhm.
both entities have to agree to doing it. So I don't know if we have to dissolve the group and then.
Well, I think we are very lucky tonight because we have our attorney here,
Oh.
who is our guru on marijuana. So you will be going into executive session, so
Okay.
if you have a need to have a conversation about changing the contract, I would suggest you might have some of that conversation in executive session and how you might approach that.
And the only thing I would,
Because I have concerns that I wouldn't want to see, you move forward quickly without legal assistance
Mhm.
if there's something that could jeopardize your host agreement, so and your other agreements. So I would want to fully vet what those changes mean and how you would process those changes.
Again, that's why we're gonna get the language to you well in advance, so it can be vetted by the attorney.
Okay.
Mr. Singer, you had something to say?
no, I was just gonna point out that regardless of whether we can add or have to dissolve and reappoint, it's seconds to do either one.
Thank you. Okay.
One last thing, Madam Chair,
Yes.
if the minutes could be posted, I don't think, when I looked last, for the committee, the Marijuana Advisory Committee, if they could be updated or posted.
Absolutely. We just approved them within like the last 24 hours.
Well, from past meetings, I don't think I saw them, but.
Okay. I will run it by
you
Kim
can
in the
check.
office.
Awesome, thank you, I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
one last thing.
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. In the recommendations, also just kind of a codification of the roles, responsibility of the group as well, just to lay out the mission of this advisory committee is to lay out than just the different roles, so.
Yes, drafting our mission statement is on our agenda. It
Yep.
comes in line with recreating the members.
Perfect,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, so that was essentially my committee report.
Did we appoint Lieutenant Dowd?
Oh, did we make a motion to appoint?
Yes,
Lieutenant
we had a
Dowd?
motion in a second.
Do
Did
we
we
have a
actually vote on
vote?
it?
Unanimous.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
been
we
so
did.
long.
And we welcome Lieutenant Dowd on the committee. His input will be invaluable. Do we have additional
Can
committee
you
reports?
take that vote just in case, because I know we did go right into discussion, just in case you did not take it.
Okay, can we re-vote on appointing Lieutenant Dowd to the Marijuana Advisory Committee?
You have
We had a
Motion and
motion and a second.
To accept the chief's resignation and to appoint Lieutenant Dowd.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes, thank you. Okay, moving on to committee reports. Yes, absolutely.
Committee reports?
Committee reports. We got an update from the solar moratorium committee earlier, which was great, thank you. Anything else? Policy review. Skipping over student select person report. Town administrator report.
Yes. Chapter 90, apportionment. We have been notified by Massachusetts Department of Transportation that the legislature has recently approved the supplemental budget, which was filed for an additional $40 million in Chapter 90 local transportation aid for fiscal year 2019, which is a 20% increase over the usual funding amount. Charlton's Chapter 90 apportionment for fiscal year 2019 is $750,567, which includes the amount previously approved in the Chapter 154 of the Acts of 2018, and the new supplemental amount of $125,094. This apportionment will automatically be incorporated into our existing 10-year Chapter 90 contract. The Town of Charlton Green Communities, to date, we have completed 3 of the 4 projects that we originally applied for to receive funding through the Green Communities program. Of the $166,570, we received 2/3 of the funding. The balance will be dispersed once all the projects have been completed and we have satisfied our obligation with the program. The hot water boiler replacement project at the Activity Center at 4 Dresser Hill was completed in June 2018. This coming winter season will show a more efficient system in ways of electricity and fuel costs. We joined the Metropolitan Area Planning Council for their collaboration on an electric vehicle charging station group bid. The contract was awarded in the amount of $6,988. This project was approved, was discussed today at the Municipal Building Committee, and they voted to move on this project quickly. The PD has, the Police Department weatherization project has recently been completed. The PD has already noticed a warmer, more comfortable climate in the building, and in time we'll be able to compare our costs. The last project is the install of an emergency management system in the town hall. Emergency management system? Energy, thank you. My mind is going on automatic. Energy management system in the town hall. It's pretty bad when you say that, but you don't even notice it the second time. A contract has been recently awarded, and the start date is being planned. We added a 5th project, an LED lighting upgrade to our water sewer plant. The project was completed in August. The department has noticed a considerable improvement in work ambiance and energy costs, with the kilowatt reduction of 3,800 from July to August.
Thank you. Any questions for the town administrator? Is there any other business unknown at time of posting?
Madam Chair?
Yes?
Just to clarify, I was appointed to the Municipal Building Committee.
Yes.
I know a while ago there was discussion of my new job. I wasn't able to attend meetings. And I just want to formalize my resignation from that committee.
Okay.
And also to make an appointment. So I would move that the board accept my resignation from the Municipal Building Committee and appoint Tom LaRose, our facilities manager, to the Municipal Building Committee.
So moved. Did you second it?
Yep, second.
Oh, I'm sorry you had to resign.
Yeah,
But
it's
understand.
been a while. It's one of my favorite committees to be on, but unfortunately it meets in the morning and I have to get to my job during that time.
I understand. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
How you came up with the person to replace you?
He's
Just-
our, Tom LaRose is our facilities manager,
Thank you,
newly
just-
appointed.
Thank you.
Okay, we have motion to accept Joe's resignation and the appointment of Mr. LaRose. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Joe.
Well, thank you also for putting Mr. LaRose on. He'll be an asset to the building committee. He's already been started to attend, and he's already putting together some materials about the facilities and doing an inventory.
It also just makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And it'll help with the quorum.
All right, our next meeting announcements. We have 2 regular meetings scheduled for December. That will be December 4th and December 18th. So thank you for your time. I believe we need to enter executive session.
Madam Chair, before we do, may I
Yes.
ask, request an agenda item? Can we have a report from the Traffic Study Committee
For our next meeting?
for the
I think
next
that's-
meeting? Yeah,
That's an excellent idea.
I would really appreciate me having them here.
That's an excellent idea. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Thank you,
Anything
Ben.
in particular?
I have some, like, I'm sure all of you, some concerns over, with all the projects we have in the pipeline and the impact it's gonna have on our roads, and, just an update, to see what's,
Yeah,
Okay.
but if you have any specific needs, I'm sure getting information ahead of time so they can prepare would be helpful.
just,
Will you reach out to them, Ms. Graver?
I will.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes, sir?
I move that we enter into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, for reasons number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation for an updates on Hilka and Valley Green Grow, and for reason number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate for fourscore, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and declare so declares, and to return to open session for the purpose of adjourning.
Do I have a second?
second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll take a voice roll call.
Do you, Madam Chair, do you
Yes.
declare that an open meeting may have a
Yes.
detrimental effect to the purpose of the?
Thank you. Yes, the chair does declare that an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on these issues.
Thank you.
And we'll just be adjourning?
And we will adjourn solely for the purpose of adjourning, ending.
Exiting executive
Sorry,
session
exiting
solely for the
exec-
purpose of
thank you.
adjournment.
Bewitching hour.
It's been a long evening, okay?
Yes.
Ms. Buell?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Sparlowitz?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We now enter executive session. Thank you for your time this evening, and I wish everyone a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Good night.